Hey, don't forget to unmute yourself, everybody. But how are you today? It's Women of the Stars, and we're talking to my friend Sal March. Aren't you in Ireland or Scotland? You're muted. So, Sal, um, you
Yeah.
came to
Oh,
us
all right. Yes,
before.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, you came and hung out with us before. It was extremely interesting because you talked about muscle testing. We talked about the stomach and the gut and the purpose of eating meat. We talked about so much, even examining our and self-awareness, examining our behavior and how emotional reactions and things like that. And you came today to talk about something special, something you're working on that you wanted to share with the public. And I don't know if you want to give a little background about who you are again and just
Sure.
let us know what the message is that you have, and then I'll let you and Terry talk for a minute.
Sure. Okay. Shall I begin?
Yeah.
Yes, certainly.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me to your show. I love the intro. It's very nice. It's great, actually.
We came up, we
um,
did some work while you were gone. Can you
Yeah.
tell?
you have, yes, I can. So anyway, I'm a 70-year-old man. I spent the whole of my life, pretty much, from the age of about 16, actively searching for meaning. What is the purpose of life? Why we're here? What's it all about? And why aren't I happy? So, in my search for inner peace, because I had a very tumultuous childhood, I went through just about every facet of what they call spiritual work and development from East and the West. And in the process, I trained in psychotherapy, I trained in acupuncture, I trained in Taoism, uh, and a lot more. I won't bother you with it. But it's been a lifelong search. And after being in the healing area for nearly 40 years in total, I gave up. I said, I can't do this anymore because I'm no good. And it's a tough thing to accept that after 40 years of wanting to be good at something and spending all my time learning different modalities and doing my best to put it all together, I was no good. And I didn't realize this at the time. All I knew is that most of the people that came to me, I was not helping. Some people I helped, but most of them I did not. And the reason for that, it turned out, was to do that what makes people ill is diet. So I was trying to fix people for all manner of problems, and the solution was stop eating this, that, or the other. And anyway, I gave up. And I looked at myself in the mirror after a couple of years because I was so sad, so distressed in myself. And the reason why I was so depressed was because I was, in my heart, a healer. That's all I ever wanted to be. And I, I said, enough, I'm retired. But really, I still had a yearning to work with people. And I then went and I began to train in a different modality called kinesiology. And I train in this American type of kinesiology, which is very comprehensive and very fortuitous because it encompassed all the different modalities that I've been training throughout the whole of my life. And it's essentially it's muscle testing, and you'd have to go back to a previous show that we've done, uh, where I give some examples and I talk about it. Um, in essence, it's all to do with muscle testing, where the body tells you what's going on with the body. But in my case, I very quickly discovered that it wasn't actually the truth. Because as I was muscle testing with another human being, I realized that they were responding not to my words, or sometimes I said the wrong word. They were responding to my thoughts, to my images, to my intention. And I thought, oh, there's more here than meets the eye. And I began to look into that. And I then began to ask questions. And through asking questions, so I had some friends who were willing to be guinea pigs with the muscle testing. And the questions were of a personal nature. And they were like, you have to write a book. But I've never written a book in my life. I'm not an academic. I mean, it's just not who I am. I'm a hands-on person, man. And I listened, and I began to do this. I mean, I'd actually, something had sparked some interest in me, and I wrote a couple of pages. And he said, start with that. So I did. And gradually a book evolved. The book's been out for a few years. It's not really very good, linguistically speaking, I think. But nevertheless, it gives a good overall view for the layman as to what it's all about. Although I need to update the book sometime, but nevertheless, as far as it goes, I think it's good. And so a relationship began to happen within me with this inner something. It was still very iffy because there was a lot of rules I didn't understand. And I learned to self-muscle test. So I learned to ask questions within me. And at first it was touch and go, but I gradually got better. Sometimes I got it wrong. I didn't know why. And then this, whatever it is, began to tell me how to help myself, because I'd been very ill, also because of food. I'd also damaged myself over the years through experimenting, going to other people who also experimented on me and made me bad. But be that as it may, he began to help me. He began to tell me what to do, what to eat, nutrition. He began to help me to work with my emotions, suppressed emotions from my childhood. He began to help me with past lives. He began to help me to open up my chakras so that the connection between this something and me became stronger and stronger. And then he dropped a bombshell. And the bombshell was that the world is going to change in 2046. And most people will not be in this world. Most people will leave this world. About 2/3 of the people, of the reduced amount of people in the world then, will leave this world. And I thought, well, this is crazy. What do I do with this information? I don't know how to speak with people. I've always been a recluse. I've always been very focused in my own personal development. I've never practiced being out there, networking or anything like that. Yes, so I had a new challenge. Late 60s, I've got a challenge. I've got a message from the world for the world. And so this is how it began. So then I began to do YouTube videos. My very first one was where I actually speak about the message. You want to speak? You're muted. I think you're muted.
No, I don't. I was just acknowledging some people in the chat. So I apologize. Keep going.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But I will say this is that, you know, you're brave, but when your soul calls you, you have you have you have a choice. You either do your soul's calling, or you sit there and you are um, wondering why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And it's like,
Sure.
when that calling comes, we have a choice, but there really is no choice. You because otherwise that voice doesn't stop. So I won't. I'll let you keep going. So
No, you're fine. Thank you for that. No, you're fine. So yeah, so I was now getting information. What do I do with it? And people are going to think, we've had the year 2000, 2012. There's always some sort of cataclysm. I mean, there were cataclysms in the Middle Ages, allegedly by people who read the Bible. The end is nigh, the world's coming to an end. There's always been these people. And I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to say something like that. And, do I believe? How do I believe what's coming through me? Am I mad? The only thing that kept my feet on the ground was that I was now working with other people. And I was now using the self-muscle testing to find out what's going on with them. And so this something, I gave it a name. I called it Charlie. You got to call these things something. So I called it Charlie. And I now began to get information as how to work with people, where I got out of the way and I let Charlie tell me what needed doing. And I was really happy. And I thought, I could go and teach other people how to do this. And Charlie said, no, that's not your path now. And that was really upsetting for me, because I'm happiest when I'm working one-to-one with people. But he wants me to communicate with a lot of people, not one-to-one. And that my path is to work with a lot of people, not to work on one-to-one. I'll always work one-to-one, but that's just going to be a little bit on the side just to keep me happy, not what I'm here for. So I began to realize the truth of this, that Charlie really is real. Charlie is real. And I only know this because he's healed me. He's helping to heal my wife. A lot of her problems are also to do with food, and she doesn't want to listen to a lot of it. But nevertheless, we're making progress. And as I see other people respond to what I do with them, because Charlie tells me what to do, I know that Charlie is real. So that keeps my feet on the ground, because believe me, I am the biggest critic. Do I actually trust what's coming through me? And I have my moments of doubt. I have my moments when I don't know, that is this really true? Is how can this be true? And so working with people, which I also do through Zoom, and proving the truth of what I do with other people, even from hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away, it keeps my feet on the ground to maintain my trust in what Charlie shares with me. And so over the period of about 3 or 4 years, I've been writing a lot of articles. And writing the articles is a good way, because Charlie only tells me things when I ask questions. So I have to ask the right question, because Charlie is beyond. He's actually, some people like to think, oh, he's my higher self. He's not my higher self. I am part of Charlie, But Charlie is beyond my immediate soul fragment. He's something far beyond. And he describes it in terms of soul, so that humanity, we all have a soul fragment which exists within the 9th dimension. Charlie belongs to the 12th dimension. That don't want to complicate it. I've got lots of articles that explain all of it. The point is that I've reached the point, I've reached this moment in my life where Charlie says, this is what you're going to have to do. And I still have my doubts, I'll be honest with you. And so first of all, Charlie said, right, you're going to work with groups. So beginning in 2025, next year, beginning next January, I will be working with small groups. And so I worked this out with Charlie, and the groups will run for 1 weekend a month for 6 months. And I will have one every other week. So I'll run 2 groups for the first 6 months, then another 2 groups for the next 6 months. And so I began to write it all up, and I got him to tell me what to do, etc. So all of that went up. And then somehow, I'm not quite sure how it happened, but he told me something else. And what he shared with me was that there is a cosmic window opening beginning next January, and it will last for 15 years. And this, I call it like, if you get up early in the morning, you wait, you sit there, you see sunrise, and you wait for the sun to come over the horizon. But there is light before the sun comes up. It's like the pre-dawn. It's already, the light is coming towards you. Okay, you're not getting the full benefits, but if you're awake enough to stay there and see it, you can begin to appreciate it. And so that began in July. So as from July of this month, this month's just gone by, the light began to come over the horizon. The light of what's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. But what that means, according to Charlie, is that those people who are pretty awake, pretty much ready, they will start to really, truly begin to notice what's going on this earth in a serious way. Because something is definitely going on this earth, not just now, but for a long time. Hi, Colleen. And to share some of that, I need to say that, according to Charlie, humanity, 550 million years ago, we were just a pack of herbivores. And some aliens came, I won't go into the story now, but some aliens came and they added to that group of herbivores some of their genetic DNA, 1.5%. So we have within us 1.5% of an alien genetic DNA. I call them the true humans. And so because of that 1.5%, which was unforeseen by them, we actually began to change. By the time, if we go forward to about 110 million years ago, humanity was already quite developed. And there was a parting of the waves. Some of humanity went into the rivers and lagoons, and they gradually became what we know today as dolphins. From the river to the big whale dolphins, there are human cousins, or we are their human cousins. Take your pick. And that when Charlie first told me this, I thought, what? That's impossible. So I began to do some research. And from our perspective, the scientific perspective, we think that about 40 million years ago, some sort of river rat spent too much time under the water, a bit like octopuses who can stand under water because their bones are heavier. So they gradually turn into dolphins as we know them today. So I thought about that. I thought, hold on a minute. If a river rat can turn into whales as we know them today, allegedly, according to them, why can human beings not turn into amphibians, into dolphins, over a span of 110 million years? It's possible. It's very possible. And if you look at my article to do with dolphins, I got a few bits at the end. They're highly, highly intelligent. They're emotionally intelligent. They're very, very emotionally intelligent. And they've got complex language. But they've evolved in a different way from us. They've relied on sonar with which to discover the world around them. We've relied on our hands. So we've went in different ways. Anyway, so that's the dolphin bit. And well done. So I was dead chuffed after doing my research because I realized that dolphins are totally different from all the other fishes. All the other fishes in the sea, their back tail goes the other fishes, their tails go side to side, whereas the dolphins go up and down. And they're mammals. They're not fish. They truly are the equivalent of a human being in the sea. So anyway, there you go. I think it's worth reading and it's worth taking on board. We're not alone. We're not alone. And the world is much more complex than we think it is, and also more simple than we think it is. So gradually we move towards the present. Now, all the time on this earth, there's been cataclysms. Cataclysms are not new. They didn't, people say, oh, there's a cataclysm because a huge meteor hits the earth and that's the end of the dinosaurs 650 million years ago. No, actually, cataclysms are much more common than that because of the action of other planets, because of the action of the sun. There's a whole reason why there are cataclysms on this earth. The last one, just to keep it close to home, was about 13,500 years ago, give or take. And the previous civilization were the Atlanteans. Now, so the reason why I've been coming down this path is that we transition from being vegetarians 550 million years ago to becoming carnivores. However, genetically, we still have traits of being being herbivores. And herbivores survive by being in large groups. That is the safety, because the carnivores always go and eat the herbivores. And they don't just kill nilly-willy, they kill someone that's weak, something that's fallen by the wayside, broken something. So they feast on the weak in the pack. They don't destroy the herbivore group, only the ones that stand out for whatever reason. And we still have that within us. And why do I share that? Why do I share that? Because 13,500 years ago, after the last cataclysm, the world went into darkness, slowly but surely. There were some Atlanteans that survived, and they maintained their own world for about 1,500 years. And then we had the glacial, the world, there was a mini change in the world. And this is when we had the deluge. The earth was covered in snow, north and south. There was only a narrow section, which was relatively at a good temperature for us to survive in. But from Texas upwards and South Africa downwards, it was all sort of glacial. So when all that melted, the seas rose 400 feet, 450, something like that. And this is the story of Noah.
I was just going to ask that, the story, like, was this Noah?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's been embellished, okay? I mean, the Old Testament has been embellished.
Yeah? Because, you know, there's this story of Exodus, that the movie. And like you're saying, this is the story of Noah. So it's like in the Bible, it comes out as just mystery magic. And it's like, no, these are just some naturally occurring events. If you look at the way the Exodus explains why the river turned to blood, it was, the alligators came and attacked, or the crocodiles, and then there was all this blood in the water because of that. And then this causes the swarm of flies. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Not just that it was just mystery magic, but there were these events that occurred. And I wanted to interrupt you just because of that, because, well, the bottom line is what we think is human. And I wanted you to clarify, because I don't know if I missed you clarifying, what exactly do you think is human? Because I don't feel that, like, when we look at us, are we human, or are we the result of whatever a true human is mixing with the DNA of some other species? Because we think that we're the human, and I think I'm kind of thinking, no, we're not. We're the new thing that's created. So you tell me.
Okay. So I won't go into the true humans just yet, but from us, as we'll say, us as human beings. So 13.5 years ago, like I said, the Atlanteans, they brought their law, they brought their learning with them. They had their small group, but then there was another mini cataclysm with the deluge, and then they split up and they went all over the place. Some of them went to China, some of them went to India, some of them went to Egypt, and they began to go backwards. Everything went downhill. And this is when cruelty, superstition, the sacrifices, human sacrifices, animal sacrifices to the gods, all of that came in through our ignorance. We became ignorant. The wisdom that had existed before the last cataclysm, only little bits remained in the Chinese culture, in the Indian culture, in Egyptian culture, but most of it degraded, got confused and distorted. And now we believed in gods, and through our fears, we began to imagine, and through our ignorance, we began to imagine all manner of things out in the other world, which were simply expressions of our disturbed inner psyches being reflected in the external world. My point is that we were once herbivores, and herbivores feel safest in the group. The larger the group, the better. And so we come to today. We've just gone through 10,000 years of darkness, and the world is still pretty dark. It is horribly dark, to be honest. And the reason for that is because there is that part of our psyche, the herbivore part of our psyche, genetic part, where we fear not being part of the group. And there's a small minority of people in this world, the elites, call them what you like, I'm not going to name them, but they control all the government. They're at the top of the pyramid. They control the financial system. They control all the information in the world. And they keep us in a state of fear. They appeal to the lowest common denominator. We need to belong to the group. This became really obvious in 2020 to 23. It became really obvious when people became polarized between those whose fear of contagion from others wanted to put the ones who didn't want to follow the rules in prison. They wanted to isolate them. They wanted to exclude them. They wanted to stop them going to restaurants, to whatever. They wanted them to bend the knee, do as you're told, and jab it in. I'm trying not to go into too many words, be descriptive, but so that people will understand. And this is the essential dichotomy between those who are so frightened of stepping outside the group and those who are starting to question the narrative. And so we're now coming towards today. And this is where we are. Most people, they are so indoctrinated. And by the by, there's a number of experiments. Some of them are on my website because I talk about these things quite a bit. It's called the Arch Conformity Experiment. You can find it on YouTube. The Arch Conformity Experiment. You get 5 people who are secret actors and one other who doesn't know what's going to happen. And someone's playing the teacher. And the teacher said, right, so here's a list. Here's his 3 lines and then this other line. So out of those 3 lines, which is the right one? Which is the right length? And all the actors say, it's number 1. And the guy who's new looks at it and says, it's number 2. And the teacher says, you're right, it's number 1. Okay, here's another one, do it again and again. And after a few goes, the guy who's coming from outside, when the others say, oh, it's number 1 or number 2 or number 3, he goes, oh, it's number 1, number 2, and number 3. Because he agrees with them because he doesn't want to stand out from the group. This experiment has been done again and again in different settings, in different ways. And it's always the same. People are so indoctrinated, they're so fearful to be themselves, to stand up for themselves and to say, no, I think for myself. I don't need you to tell me how to think. I think for myself. I will make my own decisions. I will decide whether this is true or not because you tell me. And that is the crossroads where we're at the moment. And this is where the cosmic window coming in is going to change things. Because more and more people are going to wake up from this space where they're not thinking, you cannot think properly if you eat the wrong foods all the time, first of all. You cannot think properly if all you eat is all the rubbish that comes in supermarkets, all these chemicalized products. You cannot think properly if you go to doctors who give you antidepressants or God knows what else. There's a million things they will give you because you've got some emotional issue. Yeah, absolutely. We are rebels. I agree, Colleen. So were we not at a point where we were half planned? I don't know that.
Okay.
I can only go back. So Charlie's only taking. I've only asked questions up to 550 million years ago. We were herbivores. Okay. Now we're carnivores. Our digestive system is carnivore. I don't want to go into that now, but you can see all of that on my website. I got loads of articles where I explain the process, and hopefully I make a good point, and you can question. Right now, those who are in charge, the ones who are telling us, why are they telling us? They're telling us what to eat. Does the cow need to be told what to eat? If you put a whole lot of food in front of a baby, does a baby need to be told what to eat? I'll tell you what, if the baby likes it, if it doesn't like it, throws it at you. It's only adult human beings who need to be told what to eat. What's going on here? So they're telling us, the experts, and you look at them, they're all sick. They're telling us what we should eat. You should eat loads of roughage. Okay? They're all trying to sell you things. They're not selling you what comes out of the ground. They're not trying to sell you what's got 4 legs or 2 legs or flies or whatever. They're trying to sell you what they create. They're separating you from food. They're separating you from nature. We live in a world of eat or be eaten. That is just how it is. Forget about the idealism. We have certain needs. So do cows. Cows can create protein and fat simply from the fermentation of grasses. We can't do that. We no longer have. When we were herbivores, we had a cecum. We had a section specially to ferment. Well, yeah, some are carnivores. Yeah, there's, and you look at them and they look quite different, right? They've got the beak, the hook, the talons, and you got the other ones who are very tiny ones, and they survive on little seeds and a little bit of this, little bit of that. It's just how it is. Everything feeds on everything else. And we no longer have the means of creating protein, of creating fatty acids within our system. And when we do eat that, what happens is that we create problems. Our small intestine and our large intestine explode. They begin to grow, distend, because we're now fermenting things in tubes that are not designed for that. They're not fermentation chambers. And so what happens then is we have too much roughage. We cannot deal with the roughage. It blocks, then you have something sweet. And now you're farting to high heaven with toxic, poisonous smells. As a cannibal, all I fart, when I do fart, is carbon dioxide, which is the breath of life. Anyway, enough of that. I mean, we got loads of that.
No, but because you said that, though, are your farts going to be any different because you ate meat or versus all plants? Won't you still fart? Like,
yeah, I no, okay.
You might have more gas from plants, actually.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I fart a little bit,
yeah,
but my wind it's only when we burn fat. When the human body burns what it's meant to these days, which is fat, then the fat gets converted into water and carbon dioxide. It is the cleanest fuel. People burn sugar, and sugar is going. You were talking about being a plant, someone. Well, sugar is going back in time to when the bacteria in us used to burn sugar as a means of energy. But our cells today are designed to burn fat. They can still burn sugar, but they can only do that by going back through a whole complex sequence of chemical reactions to get to that. Whereas to burn fat is the quickest process. The body burns fat so easily. It's incredible. And like I say, all that comes out is the wind is just carbon dioxide. Well, yeah, they're trying to convince us otherwise. They're trying to convince us that CO2 is creating climate change. They've been trying to do this since the 60s. These elites, they've got an agenda, and the agenda, rightly or wrongly, is to diminish the world population. There's too many of us, and these elites at the top, they're only a few million. I don't know how many, but we're talking about 20, 30 million, 40 million, difficult to tell because they don't give us the numbers, but they're a minority and they still need a few cows, us human beings, to look after them. So, if there's only 1 billion left in the world, they would be very happy. So they're poisoning the airs right now. They're poisoning the waters. They're poisoning the foods. They're going out of the way to poison people, to keep them stupid. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. Keep them stupid so they don't think, so they don't question, so that they just do as they're told, and so that they go from day to day in a state of constant fear. That's been going on for quite a while.
There's another impact with this too, that it's causing more dust in the air. It's causing more. We're cutting down the trees where we are, and then we're not feeding them. We're feeding the lawn instead of the actual plants that we need to feed. And then there's creating so much more dust. And I just heard about the plants thickening over in the Sahara because, that we had more CO2 on the planet in other points and times, like during the dinosaur times, and we survived because there was more CO2. But that swamp gas, like us, what we're talking about is our footprint is 0.04% of carbon dioxide making up all the air, and we're only point such and such, like 2% of the 0.04. We and our cars only make up 2% of the 0.04. So we're not actually the ones making the impact. It's
all nonsense. It's nonsense. Right now there isn't enough CO2 in the world to maintain the whole fauna of trees and bushes and whatnot worldwide. Wow. They reckon it should be about 400 parts per. I think now we're about 150 parts per million, and it's meant to be something like 400 parts per million. And this whole thing of CO2 and climate change is such bollocks because CO2 is slightly heavier than air. It has to be, otherwise the plants wouldn't be able to absorb it because the CO2 would be flying up all the time. So we need the CO2 to be down so that the plants can take the CO2 and turn it into oxygen. So how can CO2 be responsible for climate change when the climate has been changing for millions of years constantly? 20,000 years ago, the climate was considerably colder. There's other times when it's been hotter. And I mean, even within the last 10,000 years, we've had periods when it was a lot hotter than now. It's not, the whole thing is nonsense. It's pure nonsense. It was started in the 60s. A lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon. It's a huge money train, and it's simply another means of taxing people. They want to have a one world government, and the carbon tax is another excuse to keep people down. Just another one. Stop you traveling. It'll never stop the rich people traveling, for the very simple reason that they will buy the carbon from you. So they can keep on doing as much as they like, because money is no problem, printed non-stop. But as for a purpose at the bottom, I'll sell you my carbon so I can keep paying the mortgage, or I can buy my one little bit of steak a week that I'm allowed, because I'm not allowed to have meat anymore. I mean, they're doing this now. They're trying to destroy agriculture. They've been ruining and they're ruining the planet right now. They're ruining deliberately. This is a deliberate thing they're doing. So anyway, that's the sad part of the world. Okay, these guys, they've been forcing people to fight each other for a few hundred years, and there's been the ordinary people fighting against each other because someone else has been pushing them to do their bidding. The time has come to change. So as from next January, cosmic windows opening, people are going to wake up slowly but surely, beginning with those who are sort of more ready. The people are going to say, hold on a minute. I don't want to do this. This is not me. And they will truly begin to explore who they are. And what's been missing from the world is heart. I say that in a literal sense, funnily enough. There is that sort of, have I explained the cosmic change? Yes.
Oh, the window. Yeah.
Window, yes. The window will open up. Basically, everything in the universe generates vibration of sorts. There's a frequency. Everything is electrical. Everything in the universe is electrical. Everything. And even as we function because of electricity, we're recognizing that now slowly. And they communicate with each other. All the planets, all the galaxies, they all communicate with each other. They call them Birkeland currents. For that, if you want to know more about that, you have to go and look at the electric universe. There is loads of videos on information on the subject. And anyway, what I'm trying to say is that nothing is isolated. Everything in the universe is interconnected with everything else. And if you throw pebbles or stones on a pond, you will get ripples, and you will see how the ripples, some of them will expand, and when they come in contact with another, they will either grow bigger or they will grow smaller. They will nullify each other. So there is an effect on us from the universe which will change that dramatically for 15 years. What is coming in will actually help us to wake up, to find out who we are. There's not much more I can say on that subject at this moment, apart from the fact that it's a real effect that's going to come next January. And I, for one, I can see little bits of it beginning to happen in the way that relations between governments, you've got some governments, well, at least one government, who is determined to destroy the world, or maybe two of them. But there's others who are saying, no, let's come together, let's work in harmony, let's work for the group. And it's not quite there, but there's a different energy beginning to arise a little bit. We had the 2023, and some people said, oh, governments are lying to us. Now, that's not waking up, but it's the beginnings of it. And those people are the ones who then will keep following that line, as they now recognize that when they throw their next whatever it is event at us, they're going to say, really? You've done that before. You've cried wolf too many times. The World Economic Forum, the WHO, they're trying to sort of maneuver us into a place where we're just happy sheep. Do as you're told, take plenty of that, because something else of a fearful nature is going to happen any day now. They keep telling us all the time, fear, fear, fear mongering. But those who are beginning to wake up will realize, hold on a minute, you're just fear mongering, and I'm not going to listen to you. And when you try to tell me how to be in this world, think you know, I'm going to do my own thing. And so what we need is these groups of people who are going to start to wake up and realize, actually, we'll do our own thing. So I'm just going to digress here for a second to explain the difference between a human being and a personality. A person, nowadays, everybody's a person. Everybody speaks of everybody else as this person or that person. But person comes from the Romans, if not the Greeks, and it referred to the mask that the actors used to wear to magnify their voice in the amphitheater. And so when they said the person, they were talking about the mask, not the human being, the mask. But now we come towards today, and now everybody's a person. And there are some people who are now talking about common law, about being the true, obeying the laws of God, being a human, not the acts and constitutions of governments. It's the mask that we wear, yes. It's the personality. Is how other people see us. And to be honest, how we tend to see ourselves. Except we don't have just one mask, we've got about 50 masks. They change like the weather, depending who we're meeting in that day, who we work with, whatever's going on in our world. But we have become identified with the mask. And so we have lost connection with ourself, our true self, the human being beneath that. And those people who are focused on common law, they're saying, there are two ways of being in the world today. One is to listen to their rules and regulations. And the other one is to acknowledge that I am a human being and I've got unalienable rights that come from God. So you might explore that. It's worth having a look at. My point is that we are human beings. We're not masks. We're not persons. We need to learn to change our language. So when we speak with another human being, we acknowledge this is a human being I'm speaking with, not a person. And, I forget sometimes, but we need to remind ourselves, I am a legal versus lawful. Thank you. Thank you, Colin. So we need to remind ourselves that we are human beings, because as long as we are a person, we're totally enslaved to the system. We're enslaved to other people because other personalities are telling us how to be a personality. And this is the hardest bit, how to be ourselves. We need to come back to be ourselves. And to do this, we need to do this with other people. So I work with one-to-ones. And from next year, I'll be working with small groups. And the reason for that, in part, is because I aim to develop little nexus, little groups that will then become literally self-sustaining. They will rely on each other for their personal growth, to share what truly is going with them in terms of their emotions, in terms of their struggles in life. People who will truly hear them and listen to them, because they will be bonded, because they will have shared their innermost secrets with each other. They will be real human beings with each other, not personalities. And so that is what I am offering as from next year. And the problem is that those people who are beginning to wake up, who will begin to wake up, and they need to find true information. And the true information of the world is not to be found in spiritual books, is not to be found in religious whatever. True information is to do with the heart, because a human being has a heart, and the heart is what connects our souls with the human being. The heart is the gateway, is the go-between. Listen to your heart. We hear that, right? Listen to your heart. Listen to your guts as well. But the guts is the biology. That's the information that is inbuilt into our genetics. But there is listen to the heart. And we have all been so damaged. We have been so damaged in this life, previous lifetimes, that somehow we need to clear that. We need to clear the baggage that comes with us. Now, what separates me from a psychotherapist or any other type of therapist is that Charlie works through me. And so when I work with people, Charlie takes me straight to what needs to be worked on. What is the emotion that is stuck? Where is it? Is it in your childhood, in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s? Who is it with? Is it in a past life? Because at some point we need to go and clear, because what's in the present life comes from past lives as well. So we need to go to past lives. And Charlie tells me what to do with an individual. So I don't waste time. So these groups that I will work with next year, they will be very special groups. I went to groups like that when I was young. At the time, I thought they were special. And perhaps that was the best that I could manage at the time. But they never worked with what's really going on deep inside of me. It was way beyond their purview. Taught me meditation, taught me how to be in contact with the land and sort of work with things, taught me how to be my own person and do things. So it helped me a lot in those ways. But what I aim to do is far, far beyond that. I aim to collect people who are truly ready to become themselves. And they cannot do it by themselves in a short period of time. But within a group context where everyone bonds with each other, they will help each other through thick and thin. Because what I offer will be to work with me 1 weekend a month for 6 months. And then they will go away, and for the next 2 years, they will work by themselves. They will help each other. And then after 2 years, they'll come back and do another 3 weekends with me to finally hammer that nail in. Because we actually, to grow, we need experience. It cannot be helped. We cannot understand what we cannot experience. I can tell you a million things, but without your experience, it'll just go over your head. You need the experience in life. So, and I can only do so many people at any given moment in time to begin with. So I will run in groups of 6 to 7 people. And then from there, I will grow and we'll see how many. But then those people themselves will become, I hope, the seed to go out there and do their own thing to help other people. And so what are we driving at? What is it that I'm actually trying to get to do with people? I'm trying to get to people to connect with their hearts, with their feelings, because that's the bottom line. The bottom line is, unless our heart opens up, how are we going to hear what comes from our soul? All we're going to hear is what comes from the mask, from the personality. To be a true human being, we have to open up our hearts, and that is painful. I don't care what anybody says. To open up I've gone through a lot of pain to open up my heart, and the people I work with, they experience a lot of pain in their struggles to connect with and open up their hearts, even if it's only for short periods of time. It is painful, but it's a pain that is very bearable and well worth having. Well worth having.
Is there any growth without pain?
Absolutely.
They say that the only time that we need those challenges in order to grow, right? And if everything is too smooth and too easy, we don't pay attention to it. It's when we are challenged that that's when the growth happens. So when you do you have a format of how you want these groups, or is it going to be sort of an evolution within each group? So whatever group you start, maybe the next one may be totally different. Do you foresee that, or have you had that insight by Charlie?
I admit to being a little bit apprehensive at this moment in time of how am I going to do this, because I'm going to be working a lot of hours with people. Basically, they come Friday evening, we'll get to know each other. Then Saturday is going to be an all day.
Uh-oh. Is he frozen for you too, Terry? Darn it. It's Fife. Well, hold on, everybody. And Sal, I'm going to show Sal's website too at the same time. It's really, there's a lot to learn on his website, so that if you're interested in knowing more about what he does, and he does acupuncture, kinesiology, works with the chakras, really oxalates. And oh my gosh, when he talks about nutrition, I don't think I've ever met anybody that could go so in depth with nutrition. Right. I have some other plant-based people, or, that talk about food and structure, but I think what he does is so I don't know. I don't even know. When he talked about the gut and why we shouldn't,
at the beginning, he did talk a lot about what he did and how he sort of got into this, and his journey through it all, and his connection with Charlie. So I think he's somebody who's been evolving, and every time he's faced with a challenge, he just goes for it, and it's very inspiring to hear him speak and how he and just is brave. He's being inspired by Charlie to start these groups, and it's like, yeah, as he was just trying to go into, it's like he's not even sure how it's all going to happen, but he's willing to put himself out there. And so what he's offering to do is so important for humanity. So we're so grateful for people like Sal.
I like his chart because it's a little different from the other chart, the map of consciousness chart, but it's kind of a similar concept to kind of see where you are in your growth and development. And he does have a whole section here on the cataclysms. And that's definitely, it's funny because I really was thinking about this information the other day and wanting to know more about when they were. And so he actually had numbers, and I'm kind of excited about going over that and checking that out. And he's got his self-discovery retreats. I'm guessing that'll also go along with these teams and these groups. Because as you know, it's funny because remember the other day I was saying I talked to Sean and he said, what would you do to help humanity ascend? And I think we would really start with the food that we eat. I'm glad that he was discussing the fact that he said the food you eat in the store is not grown in a garden. And I was like, wait a minute. And then I was like, okay, yeah, you're talking about the frozen plant-based, blah, blah, blah. But then, we're also fighting the hurdle of the pesticides and stuff. And gosh, if you ever grew a garden on your own, man, I'm in Florida. Everything is alive out there. And I got so frustrated, but I'm going to have to really buckle down and find serious solutions of what I can do naturally to overcome the different aphids and stuff. Because I got raccoons and squirrels and possums and everybody wants to eat out the garden,
Well, you've been feeding them, Erica, so they just figure this is their lunch buffet is at Erica's place.
I had no idea though that the peacocks were going to eat the vegetables though. So Sal, while you were
hold on, I haven't quite got it.
Take your time. I was going to let you know while you were gone, we were looking at the different tabs of your website. So we're just looking at that. And then so I'm glad that we're talking about.
Okay. Right, let's do this. Oh, where's it gone? I can't get my computer to come back on for some weird reason. I decided to reload it and I lost it.
Okay, so there. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do
it may have something to do with all the solar flares that we're having, and
it's been knocking us sideways.
Yeah, it's been knocking us out
for the last week. One day Terry's computer works, one day mine works. It's like, how dare you try to have
I'm feeling it just physically today. My head feels like it's in a vice, like the pressure. Really? Yeah. Pressure's really
like I've been sleeping for the last 2 days. I really have gotten a lot of rest. I got these done too, though. Finally went.
And Colleen grows a community. It works with a community garden, and she grows a garden. So she's got her own fresh
It's
food.
interesting.
Like, wow, you make us. I mean, I have a little garden too, but my tomatoes aren't ripe yet. But I did get lettuce and green beans and some carrots. So.
I'm going to try jackfruit. I got my seeds on the counter. And it's funny because we just talked to Corey Edmond and I'm looking forward to finding out more about that community garden and the things that he had locally here too. Can you remember the names of it? It was something in Melbourne.
Yeah.
My computer has come on, and I'm just reload. Just a second. Let's have a look.
That was ours locally. That was PermaBlitz, but he had some other. channels. So always be sharing that about these gardens, you know. It's you're saying woke, and too, it's like what are awakened or people that are awake, or I mean, I don't know. Is there any better terminology to use as people are becoming aware? You know, because then there's people who are aware of some things. Some people are self-aware. You know what I mean? Are they aware of something strange is going on?
Maybe greater awareness. How about that terminology?
Something, because
Yeah, just a greater awareness of, because then that sort of covers, it's an umbrella. And a greater awareness of
greater
what?
levels of awareness. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
Okay,
just a
like
greater awareness. Some people are going to
Canada,
become more aware of the food they eat. Some people are going to become more aware of their spiritual awakening. Some people are going to be more aware of, their sovereignty. So is it
right, because they're
one
aware of different things.
yeah, so it's their awareness, and of course they're going to gravitate to what their soul's higher need is. Why they what was their soul purpose, so they'll gravitate towards these things. But becoming aware of, of the food is important. Becoming aware of the sovereignty is important. Becoming aware of your spirituality is important. They're all important, but some people are going to have more, they're going to have more of a direction from their soul.
So Sal, I was just wondering, is there a better word for that, for people who are becoming alerted and suspicious and asking more questions? Is being awakened like really what you call it? Because I don't know. And then it becomes this kind of a sheeple, us against them, blah blah blah,
It's not
superiority
about
thing
that.
that has
Not
developed
about that.
from that. There's a superiority. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about that. I mean, that's all part of the persona. Okay, that isn't about
Yeah.
being a human. It's
Yeah.
not being a human being. I mean, there's so much to understand. For example, we have three brains, three centers. We've got a physical, which is the genetic DNA, if you like, the muscles, the body, the skeleton. We've got the
Uh-oh. Yeah. And so we've heard that concept of the three brains.
Yeah.
And that's why the food is so important, because if your digestive system is blocked, you cannot think clearly. And like Corey said, as your stomach is getting bigger, your brain is getting smaller, which makes
Yeah.
sense because the
Yeah.
nutrients aren't being developed and the nutrients aren't being absorbed in your gut. And that was something I studied, because when I was working with this one company, I would go to the stores and I would have to take the blood test for the sugar, cholesterol, and things like that. And really, what they had us there to do was push these pills. And so I began to study like different herbs and things, and to understand digestion with Dr. Walker. Is it Norman Walker? And the juice man, Jack LaLanne. So then I started understanding, because it has to be the food has to be digested in the gut in order to get into the bloodstream to get to your brain in the first place, right?
Mhm.
So if your digestion is slowed down and it's taking you 17 hours to even get to the food, or 2 or 3 days to get to the food, and your gut's not moving properly, and you're only digesting like 1% of the apple that you ate, 1% of, you might never digest the soft gel pills that you have. You might never even digest it. So a lot of people are taking supplements, and you're not even getting any of the supplement into the body
Right.
because your gut is so backed up. And so you have to really look at yourself as an engine as you begin to absorb the food. So you do some stimulation with cayenne and hot sauce and lemon and things that get the peristaltic motions moving, so that you can actually begin to absorb all those expensive supplements that you got.
Okay, well, I'm back. I'm using my tablet. It's not as clear because I've got a bit of damage where the in the
No
on the
problem.
glass, but you can still hear me if you want to hear me.
Yeah.
So anyway, where were you? What were we talking about?
Well, we were just talking about some digestion. You were talking about the three brains in the
Oh,
head,
yes,
the
I
heart,
was.
and the stomach.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've got three centers, and the problem with most people is that they're not integrated in their psyche. So they only operate with either their mind and their emotions, or their body and their minds. Those are the most common things. And their experience of life is not real. And the reason why only two centers are operating is because they're so full of baggage, repressed emotions that they've been carrying forever. The painfulness of their childhood, formative years, growing up, the trauma, all of that, keeps us subservient, asleep, and questioning, because we are not whole in ourselves. We're disconnected from our humanity. To be a human being, I mean, I said be a human being, we can acknowledge that. But a human being has got three brains working in tandem, i.e., my mind, my emotions, and my physical, my awareness is in all of them. So I exist, I am here, I am present with all of my faculties. This is the journey to be a human being. And that's only the first part, because it's only when you've got all three that you can gain access to your heart. Now, having said that, there are moments when all three are working in an individual and they connect with their heart. But those moments are few and far between. They don't last that long. A lot of people get confused between love from the heart and love from the emotions, which is more to do with their neediness. They need to be with another person to be safe in the group. Identification with a child. Like sometimes, I really love my child. I'm really bonded with my child. Well, part of that is identification. I'm actually trying to love the child within me, but I'm projecting the child within me onto my son. And I did that. I mean, it does create a powerful bond, but that isn't love in its true sense. Love in its true sense is not limited by the bonds of family. Is love in its true sense is when I see you. I see you. I'm connected with your emotional issues, with your mental limitations, with your physical pains, whatever is showing, whatever is being projected. I connect and I can put myself in your shoes and I can experience the world from your perspective. Now that is love. It's not gooey. It's just practical. It's the practicality of experiencing the world that we are connected with. We're not separated from the world. And that means we have to be able to extend ourselves and, most importantly, come back to ourselves. There's a lot of women, and I say women because it affects women more than men. I'm sure it's not exclusive, but nevertheless, where they have a relationship and they put themselves out there for their guy. They live for the guy. They think about their guy all the time. They will do anything. They become the slave to their guy. And they forget themselves.
Mm.
Yeah. And then a few years go by, and then they realize the guy doesn't love me. The guy's just treating me like mama. Yeah. I've become that for them. This is not an equal relationship. And then you realize that you're not getting as much as you're putting in. But what you were putting in wasn't true love. What you were putting in was, I'm giving you my focus so that you will love me. Because I have a deep hole, an abyss of need within my emotions. I need to be loved. And I want you to love me. So I will sacrifice myself so that you will then do the same for me. Because it never happens that way. What you actually get is the sadism and the masochism. And it works great for a little while till the scales come off your eyes, and then you realize, hold on a minute. Yeah.
Isn't there
So,
another sign to that too? Is when you never say no to a person, you never express a boundary in that case. And so, because you're too afraid, if I say no, that person might not love me anymore. So there's this
absolutely.
fear of loss
Absolutely.
that motivates you.
I don't think it's all right. There's no good way of me turning this camera, so
No,
you can
it's
see me a
okay.
bit
We just
better.
gonna let that go.
Oh, actually, if I go that, oh, there you go. If I go that way, I go away from this.
Oh, it's some color in there now.
Yeah, so boundaries are really important. You know, we need to know the boundaries of who am I. People have no boundaries. If you're part of the group, your identity is part of the collective. And so the elite, we'll just use that word for now, you could call them the wolves, they know this. They know human psychology very, very well. They know how to manipulate people. They understand it. And what manipulates people is fear. Yeah, absolutely. And so, sorry, I lost the plot reading that. so the group, they have no boundary. They have no boundary of self. They're lost within the group. It's the group dynamic. They move like a shoal of fish. Yeah. If you see a school of fish, they all move together like one, or a flock of birds in the sky. They can just, amazing the way they all move as one. But there's no individuality there. And some people would say, oh, individuality is overrated. But they're the ones who want to control us, to keep us as part of the group. Individuality is important. However, individuality is only part of the way, because the next step beyond individuality is quite selfish, quite self-centered. But the next step is to open up our hearts. Because once we open up our hearts, we now connect with others. But I'm not connecting with another person or another human being at my expense. I don't disappear in the process. I now gauge what I am connecting with. This human being I'm connecting with, they're asking something of me. Well, okay, so you want something from me. Can I give it? Do I have the resources? How does that affect me? And then I make a value judgment. And I may or may not help this other person. Maybe sometimes all I need is simply to be there with them emotionally and hear what they have to share. They don't need to be fixed. They don't need to be told what to do. Yeah. I mean, but my point is that I maintain my own boundary. I can move beyond my boundary, and then I come back to my boundary.
And not feeling like you have to fix and change. Like love is not me and doesn't have these requirements for me to fix and change. Like you give love freely, whether it's that you have to be intimate with the person or not. You don't have to be in a relationship with a person, but entering into the relationship with the person, I don't need to have a checklist ready to be like, if he only fixes this and if he can change that, it's like, okay, well, I love you, but you're not for me. Because I guess I never want anybody to change to be with me. I need to find you as you are and love you as you are. And if you're for me, then we can be together. But because I don't want to change for anyone else either. I don't want anybody putting their checklist on me of things that they like. If you do fill out these requirements, then no, we could be together. I know. I'd rather you just be who you are. But then that true love that I feel like you're talking about, true love is not having to fix and change people, but being like, oh, it's
Okay,
interesting the way
so
that you are.
that's important. Let me share on this that
Good.
when people come together, they come together for a whole variety of reasons. In the early days, they come together because they have a lot of suppressed emotions that they need to release somehow. And so they find someone who is the opposite of where they're at. If I'm a masochist, you're going to be, what's the opposite of a masochist? I can't think what it's called now. Not psychopath, probably, but no, not that. What is
Is it a
the
person that
cognitive?
likes abuse or something?
No. If I'm a masochist, I like pain. So
Right.
I find someone who will inflict pain on me.
A dominatrix.
Well, this can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like a torture chamber in a physical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, someone that
But
dominates.
people find an opposite. The
Yeah.
point is you find an opposite. You don't look for it, but it's just what happens. We attract each other. And then we go through a few years of turmoil and, gradually we begin, oh, you're the greatest, like maybe I'm really good with my hands, and oh yeah, I really love your skill. So you get really attracted to my skill because you haven't got it. But then you find that maybe with my skill, I'm now too full of myself. I mean, like, it's never that simple. There's other
Well, that's
bits
why
that come with
people
it.
fall in love with the narcissist. Like they get mad at the narcissist, but you actually like a part of that person's personality because you lack that part.
Exactly. And so it's about learning about oneself, but it's not pleasant. So early relationships, by and large, are not pleasant. They are, great sex, maybe, you have where, you sort of do this, that, the other for a couple of years, but then gradually you start to see who they really are, their personality, and their personality, it's too much of what you don't like. Yeah, there you go. So we, in terms of astrology, there's something to do with the planets when they appear. It's not true. It doesn't actually happen. But from our perspective, it appears that they go retrograde, and they will do that 3 times. And when it happens with major planets, it seems like this is what happens in our lives. We have intense experiences, which the first time it happens, it's like, oh God, that's really soul destroying and painful. And then we repeat that. But the second time, we're more aware of what's happening. And now we begin to react differently because now we're gaining understanding, experience of the dynamics of what's going on. And then that goes away. And then the third time around, you say, I've been here before, no thanks. You don't need to repeat that because now you've worked your way through whatever the trauma was, whatever was going on inside you, you've grown beyond that. So you've got little sort of retrogrades, and you got big ones. And they all apply to different bits of our lives. They tell us things about ourselves. So when we have relationships, they're all meaningful, but they're not all pleasant. So when we find the right person, the right human being, see, even I get confused. When we find the right human being for us, it's like the universe has sort of brought us together. But by the time that happens, invariably, is because we have learned to love ourselves. We have learned to accept ourselves. It's really difficult to have a healthy relationship with another human being if we dislike ourselves, if we criticize ourselves, if all we're aware of is our shortcomings. Because if that's what we're aware of in ourselves, that's what we're going to notice in other people. And so it's really, really important, the cultivation of self-love. My latest article, which has just come up, is on love and self-hate, self-dislike. And I talk about this. It's an important subject. It shocks me when I hear other people say, oh, I really don't like my legs, or I don't like this about me. Or it's like, oh, hold on a minute. This is self-criticism. Where does it come from? It's not coming from you. You've picked that up from the group. Group dynamics. Yeah. And so it's really, but it takes time to begin to learn that, to have the experience to separate. Yeah, okay, so I've got all these programs running in my head, but they're not mine. I've picked them up by osmosis. That's not who I am. Because yes, I am a damaged human being, but I love myself because, you know, I'm in touch with my vulnerability. You know, if you find a rabbit with a broken leg, you're going to go gooey over that rabbit because you can see the damage. So when we look at ourselves and we see the emotional, physical, mental damage in ourselves, then we can open up to ourselves. Oh, now what people do is, oh, I hate myself, I hate this, I hate that, because they're focusing on the negative. Whereas when we connect with love, we look at ourselves, we see the damage within our psyche, but we go soft because I'm a rabbit with a broken foot. So I want to protect me. I want to look after me. I want to take care of me. So it's a different way of looking at the world. And when we do that, when I have love for me, when I am interested in helping me to be the best that I can be, then my partner, I'm going to have the same focus. I want to help my partner. I want to be there for her. And love comes not at the beginning of the relationship. Love comes because as I grow to understand what makes her tick, as I grow to experience her personality, and as I grow to see that she also is a human being who is connected within herself, so my love for her grows. It has to. Now, the defining quality for all of that is flexibility. If I am a flexible human being, then I am nice to be with. When I experience another person who is flexible, and I don't mean just because they can twist their arms, they're flexible emotionally, they're flexible in their thoughts, they're flexible in their heart. You know, the heart will open, it will close, but it will open. Every part of a human being is one who has every part of their psyche opening and closing as appropriate when required. Flexibility, bend with the wind, don't snap in two. So you become very rigid because you're afraid of breaking. Yeah. It's something to aim towards. You know, it didn't happen for me till I was 55.
Well, good. I got time. I got time.
I learned the hard way. You hear me, you can listen, you can apply, you can be more self-aware of how you relate with yourself and with others. You know, the way that I began to love myself, it actually pretty much began when I was in my 40s, when I was doing my Taoist training. And I began by sort of focusing into my body, my internal organs. And I then noticed that when I was working, if I hurt myself, I would grieve for me because I had caused the pain, accidentally or not. I had done it, and so I would experience my rabbit with a broken leg to my body. Oh, poor you! You know, I'm really sorry, and I would genuinely feel my compassion for my body for being hurt accidentally because of the conflict between my mind and my emotions. I would experience this. And so I began to experience more and more love for myself. And I practiced this assiduously. And this is how my present wife came along. She didn't come away, she didn't appear in my world straight away. She appeared after I'd been working on me for a few years of self-love. And when she turned up, I found that I could love her so quickly, so easily, because I loved myself. And, you know, she came with her own problems. And I would look at her with those adoring eyes. And I would say, well, what is it you want from me? What do you need? And she said many times, keep looking at me like that. With adoration in my eyes. And I still see her that way. I still adore her. And for many, many years, and I still do it occasionally, for many, many years, when I went to bed, I would focus on her. And I would focus on the joy that I got from listening to her, because she was a flexible human being. She was funny to be with. And I would focus on all the pleasure that I got just from her, the way she is in the world. And the more I did that, the more my feeling towards her became more and more powerful. And so she felt safe with me. She felt safe in my love, because a woman needs to be loved. We all need to be loved to a certain extent, but a woman has this, at a biological level, she's got this deep need, because she brings babies into the world. And she cannot do that by herself. I mean, clearly she can, in this day and age, struggle, this, that, the other, but she needs a partner to do it with. She needs the commitment from the partner. So biologically, she has this need that her partner is truly the one who loves and adores her. It's biological, you know, it is as it is. You can't fight it. You know, you need to be adored. You need someone who looks at you and the sun shines out of their eyes towards you. And you feel, you go all gooey, you're fine. You feel secure, you're secure in your relationship. And let's face it, you know, women grow old, men grow old. And within our culture, a man can go with a younger woman, but a woman who goes with a younger man is frowned on within our culture. And so the woman knows that she's going to look, that youthful look is going to disappear. Whatever that mascara, that mascara, definitely
Wow.
mascara. So all that surface beauty disappears. You want someone who loves you for who you are. They have to see you. They have to see who you are. And it has to be a compliment. So, you know, you need that security. I mean, you could argue we all need it. but in a way, it's more poignant for the woman because they're more aware that I'm gonna be I'm gonna be unkind. They're aware that their manipulation of the world through their looks disappears with age. Yeah, because when you're into your 20s, you can, just flutter your eyelids at a man, and they all go, ooh, all go over you. Maybe you got a nice bosom, and you show it off, and the men go, oh. They're captivated. They're not captivated by you. They're captivated by the surface layer. And you want someone ultimately who is captivated by you, by the real you. But that means you have to be real, you have to be flexible, you have to truly show who you are. And so does your partner. Your partner has also got to be flexible and able to see past the surface layer, because as we grow old, my wife is still extremely beautiful to me. Occasionally I look at her and say, gosh, she's grown old. In some ways, she's going to listen to it. Not that old, darling. But yes, she has grown old. I've grown old. But what I see is the human being, not the personality. So to me, she will always be beautiful because I see her. And she's a very beautiful woman with a huge heart. She's terribly empathetic. I couldn't say enough good things about her. And I see her. So I love her because I love what I see. Yeah, so relationships, this is not how we begin in life. People come together, initially the way people are meant to come together is because the phenomenal says, you smell compatible with my immune system. Our baby will have a stronger immune system than, okay? So but nowadays people put deodorants, colognes, take the pill. They screw up their bodies and they can't tell who is a good partner for them anymore, purely from a biological perspective. In fact, apparently, when women come off the pill, occasionally they will divorce or move away from their partner because suddenly they realize, oh, you don't smell right. But because they were on the pill and because of all the deodorants, God knows what people put on themselves these days, the true smell of the individual doesn't come through. We lose our ability to discriminate at a subliminal level. I mean, this doesn't happen consciously. We are supposed to be able to really know who's right for us. Animals know who's right for them. All animals know this. I mean, I think pretty much all the animals of the world will discriminate if they get a choice, if they get a chance. They will choose their mate if they get a chance. I mean, sometimes they don't. I've seen ducks raping, sort of 2 or 3 coming together just to get their ending. Sorry, Drake. Is it Drake? Is the Drake the female or the male? I get confused. Sorry, I need to go this way.
The drake is the male. It's a male duck.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of drakes jumping on a duck, and literally just gang raping her. And that occasion, I mean, the world's a cruel world, and that occasionally happens. But forgetting about that sort of cruelty, one has an attraction to another human being, which is why they invented marriage, I think, in the Middle Ages, because they wanted to control the flow of money. Anyway.
You wrote right when I'm writing. Survival requires money, so we end up participating. Then you you said that because a lot of people are not understanding. Like, well, of course, women will say a lot of men need to know that, but then women have to understand too that a lot of men aren't nurtured by their mom. They're not nurtured by other women, and so they're actually on this receiving end of how much money do you have?
Okay,
You know what I mean?
listen.
So it's like
The
this.
world, the world has changed. The world has changed. Over these last 10,000 years, the world has changed.
Yeah.
Men are supposed to be men. Men are, if you got a cat, what does a cat do when it's growing up? It play fights all the time.
Right.
It's always jumping, doing this, doing that.
Sparring. Yeah.
So do goats. So do most animals, right? We are the only ones who we're trying to get men not to be physical, not to learn to defend themselves, to be truly physical. Grow your muscles. Be strong. Be your own human being. Be yourself.
Nice.
Women, a woman who hasn't been seduced by all the nonsense of the world will always be attracted by a real man.
Yep.
Always, every time.
I want to
You
know
want a
you
man
can
who's
beat
practical?
somebody up and take care of me. We can't
You
both
want a
get
man who's
beat
practical,
up.
yeah?
Yeah.
A man who
Yeah.
can navigate the world around them.
Yeah.
And he's got to have a bit of muscle to lift something or other, or if necessary, to defend you. I mean, we don't want it to come to that, but nevertheless, there are basics. There are basics to being a human being, and our culture has defanged us. They've taken our teeth out. They've taken our claws away. They say the state will protect you. Why, right, Phoenix? So there are basics to being a human being. The problem is that the world we're in makes it really difficult. Not impossible, but it makes it really difficult. And so nowadays, we don't even know what is a man or what is a woman anymore. They've been confusing us for the last 100 years. They have been confusing us, making it gradually more and more difficult, so that we no longer know who or what we are. And the confusion is partly to do with food, indoctrination from youth, the collective. It's a nightmare watching television, the news, watching Hollywood films. They give you all these mystical ideas, but really it's all propaganda. And the propaganda doesn't necessarily turn you into a real man. It might turn you into a fucked up man, but it seldom turns you into a real man.
Yeah. I heard it explained like this. Um, like the tongue and the teeth, and say the woman is the tongue and the man is the teeth. That if you accidentally bite your tongue, would you knock out all your teeth? Because you
If you
need
bite
your
your
teeth to
tongue,
cut your food, right?
yeah,
If you accidentally cut out your tongue, if you accidentally cut your tongue, you still need both, right? Because they both serve a different job.
of course we do. Of course we do. I cannot imagine my life without my wife, and I don't think she can. I don't think she can imagine her life without me either.
Right.
We love each other. We complement each other. She drives me crazy sometimes. I drive her crazy sometimes,
Yes.
because we have different personalities. The way she sees the world is different from mine. I'm a horse in Chinese astrology. I'm a horse, fast galloping, jump, do this straight away, no hesitation. She's an oxen, thinks 10 times before she does
Oh,
anything.
she's patient.
She's what? She's very patient, yeah.
Patient. Yeah.
But and she thinks things through before she'll say anything. I'll just say whatever's going through me. Whatever I feel, whatever I think, I express myself. I don't. You'll always know who you're talking with me, because this is who I am. Okay, this is who I am. Whereas my wife, she's much more measured, and yet she loved that about me. See? She loved the fact that she always knew how I was feeling, because I'm very, my emotions are on my sleeve, but her emotions are not on her sleeve. See, but she loves that about me. Do I love that about her? Doesn't even cross my mind. I'm more focused on her empathy, her empathetic nature. We've got masses of animals out there. We've got chickens and a goat, turkey, and whenever a bird or any animal breaks anything, or she brings it in and she'll keep it in the house. Right now, someone's just given us a couple of little turtles, because she couldn't have them anymore in her place. She's built a whole enclave for them. She sort of set them up. I got out this morning, I said, Jenny, we're in the middle of the summer, it's the hottest day, and they've got a lamp on them. She says, oh, it was very cold earlier on. She's just so thoughtful and caring.
You gotta get the blanket. I gotta get a blanket for the turtle. Wait a minute. Let me get some ice cubes for the turtle. Yeah, she's got an extreme level of care. Yeah.
Yeah. So we complement each other in different ways. I am very physical. I'm very expressive physically. I express my love through my hands. She expresses her love by washing my clothes, taking care of me.
Acts of kindness.
Okay.
Acts of
she wants to be loved by me buying her presents. So for me to be loved, I just need her to come and hold my hand. That's all I need, just that human contact. She feels love when I buy her flowers. I still haven't understood that. I do it now and then, but not because I understand it. But horses for courses. That's what she needs. That's what she needs. I'm terrible at presents. I think it's all nonsense. But of course, you women would disagree.
You know what I know too, Sal? Because a lot of women are like, what? Like they don't want their husband to watch sport, their mate, right? But I said, but does he bother you when you go to the craft store? Why do we always want he watches too much sports, or whatever. I feel like men are a lot more sometimes, not all times, but that they're more flexible when it comes to allowing you to be yourself. Maybe I could be wrong. I just know.
I mean, my wife and I, we both go to the gym. So we go to CrossFit, and we go 3 times a week.
CrossFit?
Yeah. So we do this 3 times a week. It's the only way to stay young. You got to keep exercising. You got to stay fit. You got to be physically flexible, as well as emotionally and mentally. You got to exercise till the day you die, because use it or lose it.
Right.
Because let me share with you that we're just going to digress a bit. That one of the problems with human beings is that we all carry so much pain within us, and that pain is out of awareness. But every now and then it comes to the fore, because that pain wants to be expressed. It wants to be released. And so we end up in situations where some of that pain will arise to the surface, except our minds comes in and suppresses it again before we even get a look in. And then all we're aware of is muscular cramps, involuntary muscle spasms. And then people say, oh, I'm a bit achy in my back. Yeah, my back's on a little bit on my shoulder or my neck. And this is an emotion that was about to be expressed, but it got suppressed and it got stuck in the muscle.
Right.
Yeah. And exercising is one way to release sometimes. There's another way, which I talk about in my meditations, to do with the body, where you can actually go into your body, focus on the tension, and simply by focusing, really honing in onto that that muscular spasm, it will release by itself. Okay, so we actually do need part of growing up as a human being is to learn to connect with our bodies, not to be in our heads, but to be in our bodies. And part of being in our bodies means being able to do a little bit of a dusting, or what do you call it? Housekeeping. Housekeeping is because we cannot avoid getting tensions because we've got too much baggage. And even me, who I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I've cleared all the traumas in my life. This is why I'm able to connect with Charlie, because I've cleared all the traumas. However, there is still physical trauma built into my structure and into my mind. There are pathways of being in the world. And so I will occasionally get some tension. And Charlie, and I say, oh, Charlie, why am I getting this pain here? I say, well, it's coming from that and that muscle. Then I go and I focus on the muscle. And now I understand the connection and I release that. But you don't need the connection with Charlie. All you need to do is sit down, relax, calm yourself, focus on your body, be aware of your fingertips, your feet, your legs, your arms, your neck, your shoulders. And as you make that connection with your body, there will gradually come to the fore an awareness of discomfort. And that discomfort will be focused somewhere in your body. It doesn't matter where it is. What you do is you now hone in on that discomfort. And that becomes the subject of your focus. As you're resting, relaxing there, you now focus. It's like drilling. You go really to the very heart of that tension. And as you do so, that tension will disappear very quickly. For me, when I do it, I will go into a little reverie after maybe 5 or 10 minutes of focusing. And when I come back out of that reverie, the pain's gone. And the reason for that is that when you smell something, if you get something pungent and you smell it and you keep it there, after about 10 seconds, you'll stop smelling it. Because the signals from your brain are now being overloaded. You know, you're sending a signal saying this smell of this, that, or the other, and it's going to your brain. Your brain registers, okay, I take that on board. But if you keep smelling it, the brain will now switch off that smell sensation. Because your brain has got 1,000,001 things to focus on all the time. So it cannot focus on a persistent signal that doesn't go away.
Right. This is like being in the mouth of a lion too, right? Like you're going to pass out, or if you're falling off a building and you're going to pass out because you're going to overload your senses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
then I come back to the muscle. So you had an emotional experience, or rather you haven't because you've suppressed it, is now gone into a muscle, we'll say the shoulder for the sake of argument. And now, oh God, that's a bit achy. Well, by the time you're aware it's a bit achy, a day or 2 days have gone by, because that muscle went into spasm. And every muscle in the body has got its opposite. So for example, if you take my bicep, okay, I contract my bicep. This is a voluntary muscle. So I make the choice. I contract the bicep. And now my opposite muscle, if I want to now extend my arm, I contract the muscle, which is the opposite muscle to my bicep. So my tricep contracts so that my muscle then relaxes. So there's homeostasis going on all the time. So you have opposing muscles to control the body. So it maintains its posture, its structure in a 3D environment. The involuntary muscles, they work without you having to think about them. And they also have opposing pulls, and yeah. So the body is constantly realigning itself. A little contraction, a little pull. Oh, that's pull. Okay. So the signals are constantly going to the brain saying, contract, relax, relax. When that muscle goes into spasm, because I have suppressed my emotions, and that's gone longer than 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, the mind has stopped saying to the opposing muscle, contract, so that this one will relax. Because this one's trying to contract, but this one's contracting all the time and is not giving up. So after a while, the brain stops sending the signal and that muscle stays in spasm. So now you have a muscle in spasm because the brain has stopped listening to the signals. It doesn't know it's in spasm. So when you do the focus meditation and you connect with the tension there, you are alerting your brain that here is a muscle that is in spasm. And because that muscle is still sending the signal, but the brain that is in spasm, but the brain isn't picking it up. But as you focus honing all the way to the center of that involuntary muscle, wherever it is in the shoulder, your brain will now send the signal to the opposing muscle to contract so that the one that is in spasm will relax. That's how it happens. It works every time, but
that's interesting. So that's why muscles. That's why pain. They say pain has a memory or whatever.
Yeah,
That something like that. Muscle or pain.
But you need to do this. I mean, if you're listening to what I'm saying, you really need to go and look at the article, go to my YouTube, go look at the meditations, and do it. Become familiar with it. And once you're familiar, it becomes part of housekeeping. So, every now and then you're aware of something not quite right, and you will relax those muscles which are going into tension. So if you do this regularly, you will have a flexible body. If you don't do it regularly, if that muscle stays in spasm for too long, the fascia that surrounds it will begin to tighten up and dry up, and it gets harder to release that because the muscle may well be relaxed, but once the fascia that surrounds the muscle is stuck, you need help. You need to do a lot of stretching exercises, yoga, Pilates, whatever it is. You need something that will then stretch the fibers of the surrounding fascia, because the fascia itself will keep that muscle in a state of spasm. So learning to do this for yourself, learning to do housekeeping, will stop you from becoming rigid in your body.
Well, that's amazing. I've been showing on the screen your page, Divine Intervention Ego. I think it that article was on here, but you have a lot of
I've got a lot of
articles.
Charlie and I have been writing things for the last 3 years.
There you go. How to release muscular tension, dated March. But so many articles, so many good things. How to find out who I truly am. So getting past the personality again, and so much information. Where do people find your class? How do we find your class that's coming up, or have you put it out yet?
Yeah. If you hold on, go down a bit. No, the other way. Sorry. Go. Sorry, go up. Go
Oh,
up. Go up. There. Oh, stop. Oh, there on the right. Go up a little bit.
is it this?
Beginning 2025. Yes, you can go to the very top, or you can go there to. There's an advert on the side. Beginning 2025, a journey to self-discovery. So this is how I'm going to expand from one-on-one to work with groups, which this is going to be very special. This is going to be a true journey. People go to therapy for years. I'm going to be cutting all that out. I mean, you have to be ready for this, to be frank. But this is going to be very consolidated because it's not just me, it's actually coming via Charlie. So it's not me, although I have got a lot of experience, I couldn't do this by myself. I'm not experienced enough to look into people's hearts and know what's actually going on with them. This is where Charlie comes in. Charlie is the one who tells me what's going on with other people.
So Sal, just is this something, because you of course are in the UK and we're in North America, is this something that's going to be available to go through Zoom if people are interested in it?
No, it's not. No. This has to be, at the moment,
in person?
it has to be personal. So what happens is people will come to me. I will vet them, because I need to vet people as to whether they're ready or not, and also in which group, because this group of 6 or 7 people, will be really important, because they're going to bond with each other and they're going to help each other. They will only do 6 weekends with me, one a month, and they will then have to bond with each other. Part of the being together these 6 weekends is that they're going to see each other as they truly are. All the horrible things in their lives, they're going to share them. They're going to, the way they see themselves as being less than good enough, all of that's going to come to the fore. So they're going to put their hearts on the table. And like a rabbit with a broken foot is going to endear everyone else to them. Because people go through life trying to hide their vulnerabilities. They don't want to expose themselves to others. We fear the exposure because they will judge us. The whole point of this is that we don't want to judge or be critical of other people. We need to learn to experience people as they are. And for that, we need to give of ourselves. And it's only when everyone gives of themselves that true bonding happens with others. There's no other way around it. So this is going to be very intimate, and these people will bond with each other, and they will carry themselves together for the next couple of years at least, till they come back to see me again. So we will do 6 months together. They will then go away for 2 years, do their own thing, maintain their bond with each other, support each other, and after 2 years, life experience, being out in the world, because we only learn through experience. Right. It's a shame. It's only the pain of experience that allows us to truly grow. And then we come back for another 3 sessions after 2 years to finalize whatever it is that we're doing as a group together. So that is the format. It would be lovely if I could do it on Zoom, because I do so much work with Zoom. But this has to be, I don't know about the future, but for now, for the next few years, it's got to be here. That means people are going to have to come and visit me,
Oh,
stay at my home. I've got a big house. So stay at my home, and it will be very intimate, very intensive. There's no other way around it. And I have to admit that I'm a little bit like, oh my God, me being on the go for so many hours over the weekend, that I'm building up my stamina. I'm seeing more clients at the moment to build up my stamina, so that I can just stay focused for a whole day, 9 till 6, one day. So basically, it'll be Friday night, get to know each other. Saturday, full on. Sunday, full on. Sunday, only till 1 o'clock. However, what I will, because I live in a beautiful part of the UK. It really is. I mean, I've got forest to the back, fields to the front, even wild fields. There's a town 5 miles away, St Andrews, which is a lovely town, very picturesque, by the sea. You can actually go and swim. I mean, I wouldn't, but you can go and swim by the sea. But like, we've got everything here, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Even though we're only 5 miles away, we're in secluded countryside, and so if people come from abroad, they can speak with me and they can stay here for the whole week. They don't have to stay just for that weekend. They can stay for the rest of the week, and just make the most of the fact that there's one person, there's one human being who says, "Oh, I'm interested in this. I live in Canada. I have to look at my pennies, etc." And I thought about that. I thought, yeah, if you come from a long way, you don't just want to come for just a couple of days. You want to spend a bit more time here. So that is possible as well. People would have to speak with me, and that would be arranged. So there you go.
You have a great golf course nearby too.
Pardon me?
You have a great golf course nearby
And
too.
there's a number of them. Yes, there are.
Yeah, I've been to.
I'm not into golf,
St
but yes,
Andrews a couple of
absolutely.
times. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah. They do a lot of the national things.
Yeah.
But you cannot just come here just to time to go for the golf course.
I'm kidding about that. If they're going to come, there's a lot to see where you are, and you can.
There is.
They can even take a drive if they're up to it. They could take a drive up to see if they can find the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah. Assuming that it's still moving around.
Yeah.
But so we've got Edinburgh is 1 hour away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means you can come from abroad, you can go to Edinburgh. I mean, you could go to Glasgow, but it's a bit further away. Edinburgh is much closer, and it's an hour's journey from there to here. Whoever it is, we would pick them up if they said, "Oh, we'll be coming." Like if people speak, they tell me then we can make arrangements. We can arrange things with people. So there's a lot of flexibility for those who want to come from abroad. Unfortunately, I know in this day and age, can we do it by Zoom? But this has got to be really intimate, experiential. Someone will sort of be grief-stricken. You want to experience that.
Right.
We all emotionally, we all have an emanation. We all have a force field emanation, and people pick that up by osmosis. They don't they're not necessarily aware, but we're all affected. And this is, it's okay for me because through Charlie, I can connect with someone somewhere else in the world and I can experience all their emotions. I can really connect with it, no problem. But that doesn't mean that other people are going to be in the same position. So it has to be a real experience. People come together, you experience someone's angst, someone's tortured soul. You want to be touched by that so that your own vulnerabilities come to the fore, so that you express yourself as well. Everyone's got to muck in together. And it's very hard to do that by a Zoom. It's got to be a real experience.
Wow. That's amazing. So, Sal, can I just come just to be coming? Like, I just want to hang out on the farm. Just kidding.
Now, if you if you look at, there's a couple of pages, and I do make certain requirements which will exclude a lot of people. But then I'm not looking for a lot of people. I'm
Right.
going to be. I'm actually looking for the creme of the creme. I'm looking for those who are truly ready to commit for this. So I say things like, you won't have taken any antidepressants for at least 6 years, or sort of any mind altering drugs. You you've got to be clean in yourself. You've got to be healthy in your eating habits.
Mm.
It's really hard to be ourselves if we're full of addictions. We need to breathe and we need to eat. Apart from that, there's not many addictions that we need to have. Yeah, we need to keep it simple. We need to have a simple life because what's required is really tough. And if you like to drink, if you like to smoke, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, you've got a lot of repressed emotions, and it's a way of maintaining, keeping it all down so you can survive in the world. I accept that. It's not a problem. But for the people that come to work here with me, I'm looking for people who are truly ready. They're going to go out there. They're going to help others at some stage in their way. I mean, that doesn't mean to say that they have to do it the way I do it, but in their own way, they're going to become beacons because the world needs to change. The way the world has been up to now has to change. We cannot continue being enslaved by the financial system that exists at the moment, where everybody's enslaved to the money. It's a nonsense the way it is. It's a nonsense, but we cannot change it just like that. The way that we relate with each other, the way that we believe what people tell us without us questioning it, all of that's got to change. We have to become human beings, not just personalities. And how do we do that? Only by connecting with our hearts. And emotionally, we can affect people around us within 20 feet, maybe something like that. But when we connect with our hearts, we can affect people around the whole world. There is no limit. The spirit, when the soul fragment that exists within each human being, when that expresses itself through our hearts, that reaches the whole world. There is no corner of the world that will not be touched. But we need quite a few people because we've got 7 billion. So it needs quite a few of us, but it doesn't need that many. Charlie said to me at the beginning that we need to reach 1 billion people within 10 years. I think there's another 6 years to go to build up an army of 1 billion people. who, I'm not saying that they're connected with the hearts all the time, but they're connected with the hearts enough to begin to generate an influence that helps others to wake up. You know, isn't it funny when, if you've ever put maize in a pan, you heat it up to get popcorn, they don't all pop at the same time, do they?
No, they do not.
No. Some pop fast, and then little by little, suddenly it speeds up, and then boom, 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 and then they're all there. Well, something like that is going to happen with humanity. But we need those initial groups of people who are ready to look past their personality, to connect with their humanity, to understand, yes, I am damaged, and I will always be damaged, and I love myself regardless. We need to turn the world from self-hate to self-love. Not self-love as in egotism, but self-love as caring. We care for ourselves, we care for our bodies, we care for our emotions, we care by the thoughts that go through our heads. Sound like I'm on a soapbox.
Well, you're pleading for a good cause.
Yes.
Pleading for a good cause. Well, I don't know, Terry, did you have any more questions or thoughts on this?
Well, no, I think just really, Sal, you are pleading for that good cause, and as people awaken, they are going to need the guidance, and what you're offering is to bring the guidance through the groups that you help to mentor. And so the divine has visions, and the visions are being brought forward through people who act just like you're acting and following that divine guidance that's being given. And so we're all open to bringing forward that higher purpose, and it's going to have different faces, just like a picture has, depending on which angle you're looking at, we're going to see something different. And your vision is bringing forward a bigger piece of the picture. And so
I'll just say one thing on
forward
that.
to keeping in contact with you. What's that?
I'll just say one thing on that. That you were mentioning about doing groups in Zoom, and I said, I can only cope with about 6-7 people. But according to Charlie, I will be working with large groups. So there will come a time when I'll be working with groups over 100 people, but that won't be for a few years. I need to really become very, very comfortable, because Charlie and I, we're still coming together as one. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually quite amazed at how he and I are now communicating a lot of the time, but there's still a lot of work to do, so that basically Charlie and I will come a moment when Charlie and I will be one, and it won't be so much effort on my part. Yeah. So, but it will still be face to face. Right. I don't think it will ever be on a Zoom. The Zooms will always be just one-on-ones. I think.
And it's great that you're starting at the level of 6 to 7 people that's manageable, so you can go through it and understand even more how it physically works. Like, and it's in the spirit, it's in the mind, but now in the world, in the physical, mapping it out and actually connecting people so that they can expect, because I think a lot of things we could do online, but to actually be in the person's presence, and then you with your techniques being able to work the person through if they hit some type of block or some type of wall that you can work their way through it. And the whole idea of being able to come visit for a whole week, it's amazing. I was already looking and I saw some of the prices for tickets were like, if people were looking at it in the short future, it's like 600 just, and that's from the US. So whoever watches it, I think people should take risk and like invest in themselves when it comes to travel and having experiences like this. We do a lot online and it's really nice to get together with people. We've got your link on the bottom of the screen. Was there any other way that you wanted people to find you? Because I know you're on Facebook, you're on Telegram, and you have a Telegram group and stuff.
Well, you could put a link afterwards. I mean, this will go on YouTube, I suppose. So
Yeah, it is on there now. We're live, so
you could just add my YouTube channel and my Telegram channel.
Everyone really enjoyed it because I've been on Facebook too, and people have been like, "Oh my God, this is a great conversation," because it's out of the ordinary, out of our. It's really focused on what everybody kind of not what everybody kind of needs, but what everybody needs. We need it now. We need it yesterday, and we need it tomorrow. It's kind of like
people will take different things.
Consistently, we got to consistently be cleansing and going back to the heart. So I appreciate that message, and I'll let you give your final thought.
I think I've said it all.
You've said a lot.
Said lots, yeah.
Everybody's learned how to fall in love and be in love and how to have love and understanding the feelings and emotions. And yeah, I will also put in the link some of the past videos that we made, because the first video we made, we broke it up into maybe 3 or 4, and it was truly amazing. It really was, because after you got done talking to us, we probably talked another hour about what you talked about. Like, did you remember when he said this? It was so great. So it's always so great to talk to you. And I don't know, man, it just feels good. So
well, we can come together again another time.
Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
I'm very happy to chat.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna fly out. I want people to get used to that, getting flown out. So. They said this is the best intro on YouTube, so we're gonna give it to you. All right.
Hi, everyone.
All right.
Oh, sorry,
Take
guys.
care.
You know I got a quick finger. Say bye,
What?
Terry.
Goodbye.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.